It's time to wrap up week 3 and look ahead to week 4 of the New Jersey high school football season. Plus, we'll talk about week 1 for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. We have recruiting and predictions all ahead on the Red Zone Home Show. Hello and welcome into the Red Zone Home Show. I'm Ryan Ross. Week 4 of the high school football season is upon us, and we have a lot to get through and another big show planned for you. Thank you for tuning in live on Facebook and Twitter. To start the show, we're going to go to the Shore and North Jersey, and to help us with that, we have from the Asbury Park Press, Steve Falk, and from NorthJersey.com, Darren Cooper. Guys, welcome back. Lots to get through this week. Steve, let's start with you at the Shore. We wrap up week 3, and now let's look ahead to week 4.
Actually, Wall made a statement last weekend with a solid 22-0 win over Jackson Memorial, in which they basically stifled the Jackson Memorial offense. But let's look ahead to what might happen 3 weeks from now in the Shore and around the state. The NJSIAA has basically created a postseason that would be made up of pod systems of 4 teams each. And basically, they've left it up to the 5 leagues and conferences to match their teams up accordingly. In the Shore Conference, this can be a golden opportunity, even though there's no championships to be awarded this year, for the Shore Conference to create a quote-unquote unofficial Shore Conference championship for the fans, and for us in the media who can say so-and-so winds up ranked number 1 in the Shore. And in this top pod, the Shore Conference could match up Wall, which has won 16 straight games against Shore Conference opposition and is ranked number 4 in the state rankings. They could put Donovan Catholic in there, who has been mauling people so far and is ranked, I think, 12th in the state rankings. They can put Red Bank Catholic, who is coming off a very impressive win over Rumson Fairhaven. They can put maybe Rumson Fairhaven in there if Rumson Fairhaven runs the table the rest of the way. Or they could put Southern Regional in there, who is off to a 3-0 start and was dominant against Toms River North the other day behind running back Jaden Brown. Southern will get a chance in a couple of weeks when they play Donovan Catholic. And maybe this is a way the Shore Conference down the line can do, Darren, what the NJIC up your way has done for several years now and create a 4-team championship and create pods all the way down the line in week 7 and 8 where you can match teams up accordingly by strength of program.
It is a great system, Steve, and I'm excited to see how the pod's going to develop.
Yeah.
But I got to go back up. Who was that big guy scoring that touchdown there for Donovan Catholic?
That is a lineman named Cameron McNair, who I think Chris Melvin is going to have featured in his spot later. He is a big boy and a growing boy.
That is a big man touchdown.
And William Perry touchdown.
Yes, sir.
We love big guy touchdowns on this show. And for what Steve's talking about, too, by the way, friend of the show and our columnist for the Asbury Park Press, Steve Edelson, wrote a little bit about this pod system and what high school football might look like going forward should we go this route. Darren, too, up north, we have a battle of the Saints, Peters, and Joes, and then we have some rivalry games to look forward to this week.
Hey, Ryan, the beat went on for St. Peter's Prep. St. Joe's got an early touchdown, second offensive play of the game, Blake Whitmore with this touchdown pass, but the rest of the game was really dominated by our number 1 state-ranked team, St. Peter's Prep. The Marauders are now 3-0. Looks like they'll be 5-0 against the big showdown against Bergen Catholic in a couple of weeks. That'll be a big one. But I want to look ahead to some big matchups on week 4 up in North Jersey. One I've got my eye on is Wayne Hills taking on Northern Highlands. Steve, you can relate to this. We've got our first triumvirate where one Team A beat Team B, beat Team C, and that's Northern Highlands, Wayne Valley, and Wayne Hills. So now we'll get to rectify that issue. Wayne Hills and Highlands used to be in the same league together, played each other forever, and the last 21 meetings, Wayne Hills has beaten Northern Highlands. It really should be a good one. The other one is another one both you guys can relate. You know, some of our schools in town don't exactly like one another all the time. And we have the Battle of Outwater Lane in North Jersey between Garfield and Lodi. Last year, Garfield won 41-21 in a game that was hard-hitting, to say the least. And the Boilermakers have won 6 in a row in this rivalry. Both teams come in 2-1. They both have an outside shot at a division title. Garfield has another good running back this year by the name of Jared George. So that's good. That's the 2 big marquee games this week. Northern Highlands against Wayne Hills, and Garfield and Lodi up in North Jersey.
Us wrestling fans love the triangles to play around with.
That's true. That's true. What the criteria is at that point when they're all 1-1 against each other.
You just go subjective.
And Steve, quickly too, another unfortunately delay at the shore too with Point Pleasant Beach.
Yeah, Point Pleasant Beach had to shut down this week because of a COVID-19 issue. They were supposed to play Shore Regional, and Shore Regional had to scramble to find a game, and they found a game today against St. Thomas Aquinas, who's also 2-1. Those teams will play Friday night. And speaking of scrambling to find a game, Wall was supposed to play Manalapan Friday night, but Manalapan had to shut down last week because of a COVID-19 issue, and Wall is still looking for somebody to play.
I don't know if many teams will be lining up to meet the meat grinder that is Wall this year. They're on fire right now. But, of course, unfortunately, this is going to be part of the season. So stick with Asbury Park Press, NorthJersey.com, and all the sites around New Jersey as we update any delays. We're going to show you now the scene from games Friday and Saturday night. We had a couple postponements due to the weather. So we're going to take you around the state, check out some of the great photos from our photography staff from the action this past week. We'll also have our latest top 10 from around the state. And then when we come back, it's time to go to South Jersey and Central Jersey. You're watching the Red Zone Home Show live. Ryan Ross here, continuing our trek around the state, wrapping up week 3, looking ahead to week 4 of the high school football season. Now we're going to visit in with South Jersey and Central Jersey from CourierPostOnline.com. We have Josh Friedman. From MyCentralJersey.com, we have Simeon Pincus. Guys, welcome back to the show. A lot to get through this week. Josh, let's start in South Jersey. What caught your attention last week, and what do we have to look forward to next week?
Well, our game of the week last week was St. Augustine hosting Hamilton, an emotional day for their coach, Coach Pete Lancetta, St. Augustine's coach, who coached at Hamilton for 26 years. They were also coming off a pretty disappointing loss to Millville in their opening game. So they made some changes. Trey McClear came in at quarterback, his first career start through 2 touchdown passes to Nasir Hill. And Kenny Selby, a longtime cornerback, played his first ever game at safety, had 3 interceptions. And St. Augustine got an emotional win. You see Pete Lancetta jumping up with his team there, 20-7. It was a big win for him. That was our game of the week. And then some tidbits from last week. Wildwood, team we don't usually get to go down and see, snapped a 47-game losing streak against Lindenwold. Big congratulations to them. Camden quarterback Jalen Brownlee set a school record with 403 passing yards and a victory over Shawnee. And then Patrick Smith, a running back at Holy Spirit, eclipsed 300 yards rushing for the second consecutive game. He's gone for nearly 803 games. The Spartans are after a big 3-0 start. As far as this week's concerned, I wouldn't say it's the greatest schedule I've ever seen, but there are some great games to look forward to. Our only South Jersey ranked matchup this week has number 9 Ocean City hosting number 15 Millville. The Red Raiders have outscored their opponents 142-14 so far this season. Quarterback Joe Rapetti has been excellent. Jake and Sarah, their running back and middle linebacker, he leads the team in rushing touchdowns, and he's got 25 tackles, and Jake Schneider's been great at receiver too. Millville has probably faced the toughest schedule of anybody in South Jersey. They played our number 6 team, number 7 team, number 8 team, and now they get number 9 Ocean City. So they're just running a horrible schedule. They got beat pretty bad by St. Joe by 50 points actually this week. The snowball kind of just started rolling on them, and they never could recover. I'm curious how they do against Ocean City. And then on Saturday, it's Winslow, number 5 Winslow against Washington Township. Winslow has been excellent on defense this year. They've had 2 shutouts. The first time they've had 2 shutouts in a season since 2007. Their secondary is outstanding with Navy commit Jaden Brown and Boston College commit Jalen Cheek, plus their linebacker Emerald Mitchell has been great too. Their offense has been doing steady. They probably need to put up a few points against Washington Township, who's led by Joe Nathan Silver. Their running back has been one of the best running backs in South Jersey. He was our player of the week, I believe, last week. I'm excited to see what those 2 teams, and then the guy to keep an eye on for Washington Township also is Jaden Allen. Utah State commit has 5 sacks in just 2 games. He could be a big problem for Winslow on the defensive end.
And that will be the game you'll be tasked with trying to predict later on in the show there, Josh.
I got one right last week. Hopefully I'll get 2 in a row this week.
We're back in the win column this last week. Simeon, too, another busy weekend in Central as well. Games on Friday and Saturday, and then a lot to look forward to in week 4.
Yeah, absolutely. Another action-packed weekend in the Big Central Conference. A game I got to see Saturday night, big Group 2 affair, Division 2B as we call them in the Big Central. Bernards defeating Governor Livingston 34-7. Basically, the week before, Governor Livingston was able to do something that Bernards has not been able to do, and that is knock off a 3-time defending sectional champion Hillside. So now the Mountaineers, which lost to Hillside in week 1, they get a chance to kind of avenge it by association against Governor Livingston. They come up with a big 34-7 win, kind of a ground and pound evening for the Mountaineers. Michael Lienza, Gordon Brienza, and even though receiver Pat Caldwell getting into the act with 2 end-around touchdowns. Also a very big defensive effort by Bernards. You gotta give them credit for what they did. GL's kind of an up-and-coming team. They went 1-10 last year. They're 2-1 now. Bernards also 2-1. So I expect good things for GL. Maybe they're not quite ready yet, so Bernards gets the best of them this time. Bernards will play Roselle this weekend. Governor Livingston plays A.L. Johnson. If both teams win, they will clinch at least a share of that division, along with Hillside. Another big game in the Big Central, Bridgewater against Westfield. This is a team that has a lot of history, especially in the postseason. Westfield has ended Bridgewater's season in the playoffs 5 out of the last 6 years, including 3 years in a row in sectional finals. But this is the second year in a row where Bridgewater has taken care of business against the Blue Devils in the regular season. Big 27-14 win for the Panthers. Good to see them shaking off that week 1 loss with 2 in a row after beating Union last week. And as for Westfield, we'll talk about them in the segment later in the show, but they're 0-2 now. They've kind of gotten off to a slow start after some COVID issues early, trying to get some new personnel gelling. So we'll see how they do against Ridge this week. Another big game, North Brunswick playing Passaic Tech. Passaic Tech was ranked in the top 25. North Brunswick coming up with a 32-7 win. The Raiders will make their debut in the top 25 this week. North Brunswick will head to Edison this weekend, which is a very interesting old GMC game. This should be an aerial affair. We have 2 big quarterbacks, Frankie Garbolino from North Brunswick, Edison sophomore Matt Yasko, 2 of the most gifted quarterbacks in Middlesex County. So they should go at it. Also, North Brunswick has a very good defense, held each opponent to only 1 touchdown so far this year. And Edison has a pretty good D of their own. Danny Morath with 2 interceptions and 14 tackles in a win over New Brunswick last week. So that's certainly a game to keep an eye on this week. We also have Woodbridge and Cranford. Woodbridge is the number 1 team in the Big Central Conference, and Cranford is the upstart. They're the team that the surprised Ridge 2 weeks ago. They'll face off against each other. Woodbridge is undefeated at 2-0. This will be the really first big test for the Barons against Cranford. Woodbridge features career rushing leader Ali Lee, a dynamic running back. They try and get the ball in his hands in multiple ways, whether it's running the ball out of the backfield or even in the passing game. And he also handles returns for the Barons. They're also a very good defensive team, phenomenal defensive team. Cranford 3-0. Like I said, they had the big win over Ridge. So those teams get to face each other on Friday night. Finally, the other big game in the Big Central. This game has gotten moved to Saturday night. Watching Hills will play host to Phillipsburg. Watching Hills 2-0, their latest win, 22-6 over Hunter in Central this week. Phillipsburg's undefeated, but they've shown a few cracks, as I mentioned last week. Hillsborough gave them a run this week. The other teams that they've played this year have all been close till Phillipsburg kind of pulls away at the end. Don't quite seeing them doing that against Watching Hill, so this should be a battle till the end. Very interesting to see how that one goes Saturday night up in Warren.
I told you we were busy. Did you hear all those games that we had to get through? Amazing.
That's just the tip of the iceberg, Ryan.
We've got plenty more on the schedule too, of course. And if you want to follow along with those results for Simeon and mycentraljournal.com, for Josh, it's courierpostonline.com. We'll bring them back later on in the show because it is prediction time. As we head to our next segment, though, we're going to check in with our buddy Chris Melvin for another edition of Chris Melvin's Recruiting Corner. Two guys that are on their way to play in college. And speaking of college, once we're done with Chris, it's time to bring in Chris Heisman, our Rutgers beat writer. The Rutgers Scarlet Knights kick off their season after some delays in the Big Ten. We'll preview their season and upcoming game with Michigan State, so stick around. You don't want to miss that. But first, let's check in with Chris Melvin.
Hi, this is Chris Melvin. Welcome to the Chris Melvin Recruiting Corner. This week, you're going to get a 2-for-1 special. We're at Donovan Catholic, where we highlight one of the state's top sibling duels. Senior Cam McNair and Junior Karan Taz McNair, a.k.a. the Smash Brothers. Training with former UMass and Lacey Star offensive lineman Tyrell Smith and powerlifting with the Griffin strength coach Mark Deppin, the duo has been praised for their hard work and dedication on and off the field. Cameron's first offer came from West Virginia and has a total of 9 on the table for the 2021 recruit, whose dream schools are Penn State and Florida State. Karan's first offer came from HBCU, Delaware State, followed by Old Dominion and UMass. His dream schools are Virginia Tech and Rutgers. The 2022 recruit wants to be a mechanical engineer. Coach Dan Curcion's Griffins are low with talent on both sides of the ball. But when it comes to recruiting, the Smash Brothers are a big reason why colleges are coming to Towns River, New Jersey.
Our thanks to Chris Melvin for checking in on the Recruiting Corner. Welcome back to the Red Zone Home Show. Ryan Ross here. And from high school to college, I guess you can say we're graduating in the show this week. We're welcoming in Chris Heisman. Chris is our new Rutgers football beat writer for the entire USA Today Network, New Jersey. Chris, welcome to the show. We're finally getting to talk Rutgers football.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be on with you guys.
No secret, it's been a crazy offseason, not just for Rutgers, but for football teams everywhere, especially in the Big Ten, where we had the season canceled only to have it reversed. So let's just talk about this improbable 2020 season that's finally going to kick off Saturday.
Yeah, it really is amazing that we're at this point. Obviously, like you said, we all know what happened. It's been quite the saga with the Big Ten postponing the season in August and deciding to try to play in the spring, and then reversing course a month later when the rest of the Power Five kind of just decided to forge ahead and see what they could do this fall. So we're finally here against the odds, and it's game week, and the college football landscape is going to get a lot more interesting on Saturday.
What can we expect out of the Scarlet Knights this year? Of course, kind of lost in all the craziness is the fact that Greg Schiano is back to coach the team. But how's the squad looking, and what can we expect from them?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm not sure even Rutgers knows what they can expect from themselves. It's been such a crazy offseason, obviously no spring practices. This new coaching staff really hasn't had a ton of time to work with these guys. The training camp was accelerated to kind of fit this shortened timeline in to get the season started. So I think Rutgers is a bit of a team of mystery at this point. They're still trying to figure some things out. We know that, it's the quarterback situations is either going to be Art Sikowski or Noah Vedral starting. That could be a game time decision. So, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what they look like, and not just Rutgers, but every team in the Big Ten, because like I said, it has been such a strange offseason. They're still a bit of a team of mystery at this point, and it's going to be really interesting to see what they look like.
And kind of the two big questions to answer are, who is the quarterback, and can Rutgers finally break that 21-game losing streak in conference?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's going to be key. I think that they have to try and get a win. You don't want that extending into next season, taking that losing streak again into another year. The quarterback situation is certainly interesting. You have a guy, Noah Vedral, graduate transfer from Nebraska. who could be a good fit for Sean Gleason's offense. He wants to run the no-huddle, up-tempo system, which Vedral ran at Nebraska under Scott Frost. But then you have Art Tukowski, who played 3 games last season before taking a red shirt. He showed some steps last year that, he was kind of moving forward and progressing. But those 2 guys certainly, they separated themselves in the quarterback competition in preseason, and now they're going to have to continue to see what they can do, this week. And we'll see what happens on Saturday with who Greg Schiano and his coaching staff decide to start.
And of course, elephant in the room for Rutgers and every team that's trying to play this fall is whether this season can continue without any interruptions due to COVID-19. I know that's impossible for you to answer, Chris, but what are the thoughts on that, and what are the teams looking at?
Yeah, that's going to be the kind of the looming question. Right now there's been about 30 college football games that have been postponed, moved around because of COVID outbreaks, and obviously contact tracing that has taken other players out because they have to quarantine. In the Big Ten, they have this 8-game +1 schedule. And there's no bye weeks built into it. It's just going to be 9 straight weeks of games. And if there's an outbreak, it's going to be really tough to see how the Big Ten is going to move these games around. So they're hoping that the daily rapid testing kind of alleviates that concern, that they can figure out every day who's available. And if anybody, tests positive, that they can isolate them quickly and kind of alleviate a lot of those contact tracing concerns. But certainly it's going to be tough, I think, at times. We'll see what happens, especially once these teams start traveling and kind of getting exposed to more people on the road and in different environments. The possibility of potentially contracting some sort of outbreak is going to increase a bit. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all works out.
And we'll get your prediction later in the show, but let's talk about this matchup with Michigan State and Rutgers. You'll be out in East Lansing along with the Scarlet Knights in a big empty stadium, but what can we expect from this matchup?
Yeah, look, it's 2 teams kind of in similar spots. I mean, obviously, Michigan State led by Mel Tucker, so they have a new coach. It was kind of a frenetic offseason for them, too, with Mark D'Antonio retiring kind of late in the game, and then an interesting coaching search to land Mel Tucker. So and they're also having a quarterback competition, so they don't know who they're starting yet. That decision could come later in the week or at game time also. And they have a lot of questions on the offensive side of the ball, too, kind of an uncertain offensive line. Some inexperience at the skill position. So in some ways, this is going to be an interesting matchup just because it's 2 teams in very, very similar spots and kind of a rebuild under new coaching staff. So, it's going to be an interesting game for sure.
I know we're all looking forward to it. We're looking forward to your coverage, hopefully all season long for an uninterrupted season.
Hopefully.
Chris Heisman, like I said, he's the beat writer for Rutgers football for the entire USA Today Network, New Jersey. You see his Twitter handle right there at Chris Heisman. So be sure to follow him for all of the Scarlet Knights news that you'll need. Chris is going to make his prediction later in the show, too. We'll have all the predictions for our big high school games from around the state. But before we get to that, we're going to take a trip up to DePaul Catholic and check in with Andrew Butler for the latest installment of our 100-yard walk.
We're at DePaul Catholic High School for our 100-yard walk with Spartan senior quarterback Andrew Butler. Andrew, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for joining us. So, Andrew, first question we ask everybody is, how's your family been doing through this last 6 months? Been a lot going on,
Yeah, fortunately the family has been able to stay all safe. Everyone's home, back at work now. No one is sick, so we've been lucky.
So how'd you become a quarterback, Mr. Butler?
I became a quarterback just through watching football and playing it. My favorite team was always the Giants, and I got to see when Eli Manning won the Super Bowl against the Patriots, and that's when I decided to become a quarterback.
Yeah, but Giants aren't doing too well right now, right?
No, not right now, unfortunately.
How much time do you spend devoted to your craft, working on your game at quarterback?
You got to devote a lot of time. I definitely do something every single day, whether it's strength conditioning, work on my skill set, or just watching film. So there's definitely time every day.
And what's your favorite part about playing quarterback?
My favorite part, I would say, is just the leadership role that you have to take. You're kind of like a coach on the field. You have to run the whole offense. So just trying to get everyone in the right position, getting them to succeed.
How good is this DePaul team?
I think this is a really good team. We have some special athletes on the team. We're all coming back pretty much, so we've been playing together, so I think we should have a really good season.
Mr. Butler, it was great having you on the 100-yard walk on the Red Zone. That's Andrew Butler, senior quarterback at DePaul.
From Michigan State Spartans to DePaul Catholic Spartans, thanks to Andrew for that. Be sure to check out the full video at northjersey.com. Now it's prediction time. We have our Red Zone Pick 6 about to get underway. I guess you could say we have an extra point this week because we're picking 7 games with Rutgers included in that. But before we get Scarlet Knights, let's start with Darren in North Jersey, Clifton and Montclair.
Hey, COVID takes away, but COVID also sometimes gives us good matchups like this one, Clifton against Montclair. They used to be NNJIL rivals. For those of you who know, that's the old league. Clifton's coming off a good win over Eastside 17-6. I was actually impressed with Eastside hanging with Clifton a little bit. I'm going to take the Mustangs to take down the Mountains.
And at the Shore, too, it's an all-Homedale affair with Homedale and St. John Vianney, Steve.
First of all, Simeon, when you get up, I want to know who's using the purple field because that purple field mesmerized me. Now to Homedale and St. John Vianney. A few years ago, the thought that this would be a competitive game would have been kind of laughable. But this is testimony to the job that Homedale head coach Jeff Reynes and his coaching staff and his upperclassmen have done. Homedale has moved into the top 10 in the Shore, and playing Homedale is kind of like going to the dentist. It can be very painful. They run the split back veer. They love to run the clock. They're not afraid to go for it on 4th and 1. They grind you out. Last week, they ran for 325 yards. The week before that against Ocean, they ran for well over 300 yards. Running back Jaden Gallo has had 4 touchdowns in each of the last 2 games. St. John Vianney has gotten good play out of sophomore quarterback Antonio Rosado and Pete Pizzarello, who returned a kickoff for a touchdown last week. But I'm going to go with the Hornets to grind another one out and improve the 4-0.
All right, Homedale to pick over St. John Vianney. To Central Jersey and Simeon we go. Ridge versus Westfield.
I'm not sure what purple field Steve was looking at. Might have been a play of lights, or I don't know what's going on there in the Shore area. We got a big one in Somerset County as the Westfield it's in Union County. Ridge will head over to Westfield. Westfield is kind of where Westfield wants to be. Ridge lost that game to Cranford 2 weeks ago, came back with a big win last week over Union. Westfield's 0-2, tough one against St. Joseph Metuchen week 1, another tough loss to Bridgewater last week. So they're hoping now with a couple of games under their belt, they can kind of emerge and do what they hope. So it should be a good game at Keeler Stadium. I like the Red Devils of Ridge in this one.
All right, Ridge the pick there. Now to another game we mentioned earlier in South Jersey for Josh. It's Washington Township and Winslow.
Yeah, look, I mentioned before Winslow's defense has been outstanding, 2 back-to-back shutouts, and that's why I'd lean Winslow in this game. That's who I'm picking. You defense wins championships. The defense is playing great. Emerald Mitchell, their linebacker against Joe Nathan Silver, the Township's running back, is going to be the matchup to watch. I think Winslow does just enough on offense. I think this is kind of one of those 14-7, under 20 for both team games, and I think that plays to Winslow's favor. So that's where I'm leaning Winslow today for Saturday night.
Now for our college pick and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights taking on Michigan State and East Lansing. Chris, I know Rutgers fans are happy to have the season back, but how happy will they be come Saturday?
Well, listen, like I said earlier, this is an interesting game. I think that these teams are more evenly matched than people might realize, especially now that Rutgers has the addition of several transfers, guys like Brendan White from Ohio State at safety. Aaron Cruikshank's going to be interesting as a kick returner and a wide receiver. So I think they're pretty evenly matched, but I'm going to give this one to Michigan State. I just think that being at home, even though it's going to be an empty stadium, it's going to be a little bit more comfortable for them. It's going to be a challenge for Rutgers to kind of, make this trip in COVID times and make those sort of adjustments. So I think it's going to be close, but I'm going to give Michigan State the edge in this one.
Back up to North Jersey now to Darren. We have St. Joe's and Don Bosco.
All right, both these teams are 1-2 and aren't exactly where they want to be right now. And both teams have had problems on offense. St. Joe's just struggled in the passing game. They only had about 60 yards in the game against St. Peter's Prep. And Don Bosco just doesn't have enough explosive playmakers right now on offense. So I don't see a lot of points in this game at all. Last year when they met in the non-public 4 semis, it was a defensive touchdown by Bosco that ended up being the difference. This year, I think the Green Knights have just enough with Audric Estime. I like them in 14-7, 13-2. I mean, it's going to be something like that. It's not going to be for the faint of heart, but I like the Green Knights.
That sounds like a Big Ten score. And finally, our game of the week, Asbury Park Press at the Shore. A surprising, I guess you could say, Colts Neck team taking on Freehold Township.
Both of these teams are unbeaten. Now think about it. For those of us who follow Shore Conference football, let's think about that for a minute. Colts Neck and Freehold Township both unbeaten at the halfway mark of the season. Colts Neck is a very solid football team. They're no frills. They like to run the ball with tailback Joe Barsky. They have a big offensive line. They get efficient play out of junior quarterback Tommy Farrell. They impressed me 2 weeks ago when they came back from 21-0 down against Freehold to win by 1 point, 36-35. Freehold Township's coming off a bye because they were supposed to play Manalapan, but Manalapan had the COVID-19 issue, so that game was postponed. Freehold Township has won its 2 games over Howell and Marlboro by a combined 4 points. They've gotten good play from running back Dylan Longo against Marlboro. They got a great all-around game from Matt Cardone against Howell. But I think Colts Neck, with its physical style of play, its running attack, and its big offensive line, will wear the Patriots down, and they will win the game and improve to 4-0.
Should be a fun week of high school football around the state. And, of course, we'll be watching Rutgers as well. Of course, NorthJersey.com, APP.com, CourierPostOnline.com, and MyCentralJersey.com, your place to find Darren, Steve, Simeon, Josh, entire team, Chris Heisman as well, covering Rutgers. Thanks, guys, for making these predictions. Thanks for stopping by on the show. Thanks to Chris Melvin, of course, too, for checking in on the Recruiting Corner. And thank you for watching live. We're going to be back next week. We'll recap more action. Thank you for watching live. And be sure to check in for all the scores and results. I'm Ryan Ross, and we'll see you next time.